Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Wilko Kaijim. I'm leading in IBM the industry called Engineering, Construction, Operations globally. My background is I'm a civil engineer. I worked for 15 years with my helmet on and my boots on, and then I moved over to IBM and always worked in IBM in between what technology could mean and companies like in the engineering, construction, operation industry. This moment in time we help a lot of clients on the digital transformation. As you can see here, we do about three things: doing things better, doing better things, and doing new things. It's simple. You have to make it simple with this industry. One of the technologies that I'm going to explore a bit more today with you is about what does blockchain mean in the industry with some examples. So I'm not going to, this will be in the handout, but what we normally see is when we look at the industry, and especially the blockchain will help a lot around that issues that you have here in the industry, and that challenges about those profit margins. I don't have to tell you, you all work in the industry, and about the things about inefficiency. Yeah, and if we can do something with the blockchain, that will help there. I will get some examples in the industry where we're working on. But what you can see also in this industry, they are exploring with many technologies, many. Yeah, and if you look at the digital transformation, blockchain is one of them. Yeah, it is for us, you know, how to position it and how to get it on the top of the list of all these initiatives as well, and how to combine them with the other technologies. And that's why I put it here, two things. Well, we did talk a lot about BIM this morning when we started, and some of the other examples, and this BIM and blockchain will really get something together. Also in your ID that you just shared, you know, that you see BIM as part of your system in the ledger, it's a great idea. So many technologies that they are challenging. And of course, this is something that you know, this is something like, you know, in the complex organization that they work together. And of course, we would like to be seamless into a kind of stream. That is a kind of dot on the horizon that we are looking at. But to make it simple, we did look at two things. One is blockchain is really something that happens into the life cycle. Yeah? And the examples that you're going to see will have to do something with that life cycle. And the other thing is that you know, we from IBM and with our conversations with clients, we did really see that there were three different streams that were interested for our clients to focus on. I will have for each of them some of the ideas and some of the opportunities out there that we've created. So it's about blockchain for quality assurance and health and safety. I will have one environment for that. It's about how can we use blockchain, especially in the supply chain, and how can we use a blockchain for smarter contracts. I think we touched a few of them already today with your contracting and the financing part of there. But this is more or less the three levels that we see where they get alive. Are there already blockchains alive in this industry? Not in IBM. We created about 100 blockchains, and I always tell to my colleagues it's great to be in this industry because it's about 4 to 10 years behind of all the other industries. So, you know, I can learn a lot from the others, but you can also connect to the other networks that are already out there and reuse a lot of the networks that they created out there. I will come back with some examples. So, if you look at the three different examples that we've discussed also when I visit a lot of boardrooms around the world. One of the things I do with those clients is help them on the journey, and they always ask me, Wilko, what does blockchain as a technology means for my industry? And then when we had those discussions, those three areas that you can see here, they came up. So if you talk about the why, yeah, for the industry and what to do, then you can have a look at here. So the blockchain for smarter contracts, that is something that is really already happening, because there's in the way that the process in this construction work works, with all the additional work and then all the steps in between, the payments and did I do the work right? It was 2 meters, it was not 2 meters, it was 3 meters. All the discussion happens around there. That is already where blockchain started. What we see with our clients in the engineering construction industry is that some of the clients out there did start with blockchain initiative internally. So to optimize their own financials or optimize some of their own smarter contracts, not yet like other examples that I will show you later that have more an external and a network function. And the internal thing has to do also with a bit of the structure of our industry. And why? Because many of the, if you think about construction companies, then many of them are conglomerates of many small companies who have to work together. And even there, that shared ledger ID is something that they already can improve a lot. So some of them you will see, they do start internally as well into the industry. The other thing is about blockchain for supply chain. I think that in the blockchain for supply chain, if you look at the construction industry, that for the construction companies, that 60 to 70% of their revenue is in the supply chain. Many layers, many partners in there. And you know, and there's not that much insight at this moment in time, and not that much trust in there, and also the knowledge that has been shared of the data is not clear. So one of the examples I saw also in your white paper was around supply chain. But for me, that is for the construction industry one of the, I would say, the earliest thing that they really would step in. And why do I say that? Because the thing is there's a lot of networks that need to work together there. The thing is who's going to start this journey? With the examples that I'll show you in a few minutes, but the examples that I'll show you that we're really, you know, scaling and we're getting big, was that there was a kind of network that did start. But then you need to be a big player to start there if you want to make impact. And it could be in a country, it could be in a different, but it is, what is the network that will start this? That is very important to think about. So track and trace, of course, sourcing, but that's also where you can see in some of the examples that you can learn from others. And then QA and safety. I will have an example of blockchain, which we are building now, blockchain around safety, that we are going to use the work permits and the safety of the people, etc., coming together. But also, if you talk about blockchain for QA, and especially when you think about the handover to the owner operator. In the handover to owner operator, there is a lot of proof and material and certification that will be handed over, but it's not there. And how do you get it together? In the old ways, like, you know, you get them all into printed ones, and hopefully you get the information, and here you get a container of books. But a lot of that certification could get into the blockchain through the life cycle. And think about, you know, if you have a welder, then you have a welder. The person has a certificate. He has welding equipment, has a certificate. He has a piping material, has a certificate. He has also then a proof of the photo that the weld was right, it's a certificate. So all these kind of information coming together. If you really think like proving the as-built with a blockchain, that would be a great use case. The question is, who's going to start it? Yeah, and which parties you need to bring together. And I will shortly be at the parties that we have on some of the examples. So, so what I would like to show you, and I'm, you know, and I was glad that Marta did. You did show a bit on the what, and I'm a bit more on the how. It's more why we're doing this, but I'm not going into details about, you know, what technology is behind this. But IBM did create about 100 networks already live. Some of them we have the experience already for 2, 3, 4 years, and Hyperledger is something that IBM is highly working with. But some of the things that we have there is that they did grow because it was the right combination, and some of them already did start 4 years ago. I did select 4 out of them to show you some examples that are live and that are working about IDs with the client. One is about safe systems, one is about responsible sourcing, and the other one global trade. And the first one has to do with something that you mentioned earlier, and that was about the payments. And I will show you that one first. The payments one is what we call justice, it's just-in-time consensus. It's not, it's released in a, I would say, smaller ecosystem around a tenant, grid operator. And the issue for the grid operator was the following. The grid operator worked with contractors and with a lot of many small subcontractors. And the small subcontractors, they could be like a one-person company or many of them to do the maintenance. And that was where the money came too late. Yeah, because if they get too late, they get out of business. That was one of the examples that you shared earlier today. So they created the blockchain for the grid operator together with the contractor and the subcontractor to handle especially that part of the work. Small work orders and get them paid immediately when the work is done and put the results into the blockchain. So some examples of how it looked like, but this is kind of a picture of what they do, and you can see a lot of things are happening. They did the excavation, and then they have to say back, yeah, I've done it, and then you have to account receipt. And this process, as you can see here, is managed in the blockchain for them. So it is something that at least that was the result, that it helped them immediately to get a payment at the right time. It's a small ecosystem, and that's also where to start. And this came with the grid operator who saw that their people needed money to get faster after doing work instead of many, many days. The second example that I would like to share with you is an example that we are now on a level of getting to a minimal viable product. It's together with Woods. And that's about safe systems. And what I would like to do is to think about, who authorized who to do what, where, when, and on what basis. So think about, if you have, with all those people working together on site, it could be that there's something blurring in the information about the work permit, and was it still the work permit you could go to, and is it still safe to work, and is it approved? The answer is yes, 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 yeah. In the morning they come all to the project leader and say, yeah, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then they go out, and is it safe? Yeah, it's safe. But to prove this is something that they are putting a lot of effort in to get it structured, and they are looking also in a network of parties to join. But they would like to combine, the safety. So did you have your training? Click yes, that should be in there. But also the work permit that is related there. If there's any change in the work permit, that any subcontractor immediately could see what is happening or what did change, so that they have the latest change and even they could stop the work immediately. And they are not doing that alone. This is I did take out the names of the companies. I was not allowed to share that, of course, but they are looking at a kind of ecosystem how to build this. And as you can see, the first one is what they're going to do with the engineering services, the asset operator, and the tier 1 contractor. But as you can see, you need also the auditor, regulator, maybe the tier 2 in the supply chain, the asset owner, service and maintenance need to be or could be combined on joining this coming together. The next thing that they have in mind is also to link this, for instance, for facilities management and look at the building where many people need to work together in an environment of many different companies and how to get that information structured at the right time, making the right decisions. Another blockchain is a blockchain that we released earlier this year and has to do with responsible sourcing. The reason why I took this one is because for me it's a great example of bringing parties together to do something and to solve something in the process. What you have there is an issue. The following issue is, of course, that how to get those parties together and how to get them done. So this one is, as you can see, parties like LG Chemicals, RCS Global, Ford, etc. What it's doing? It was about cobalt. Cobalt is getting from the mine up into the battery, up into the car manufacturing. The reason why this is successful is because you have a few big brands that at least start the game. So you at least they show. And of course Ford did announce it with high level, and we created the blockchain. So yeah, they can say my batteries in my cars, yeah, they are responsibly sourced and not with the childhood labor that was in the reports of Amnesty International that is related to this industry. Yeah, and it's a great step forward. But what happens when you do this with a blockchain like this is that the next step will be that now car manufacturers like Toyota, they are asking, can we join this blockchain? And the other is, hey, you've done this for cobalt, can you do it also for other minerals? So if you have a blockchain and a network, you can scale it. Yeah, it's about first build it and then scale it, and the scaling could come from different ways. But to be honest, to create this blockchain and to create this network is a lot of work. Because you have about 8 or 9 parties talking together, getting contracts together, agreeing together to do something. But finally, okay, you be there and you take your lessons learned. But when it's there, then it really can start running. This is the process that they are supporting, and you can see it going up from the manufacturer up to the battery, but you can imagine what it means, coming from cobalt, getting into your car, an electric car for the last example I would like to share with you is another example of the blockchain is what has been, I would say, a great success. 2 months ago also the other two great or big shipping operators in the world did join this. We did set up this one with Maersk. And Maersk thought about, I want to solve an issue because what is happening when I have a container coming from Nigeria to Rotterdam full with fruit, then there are about 30 parties who are looking at the same documents and information, and we have 100 different documents, and we don't trust each other at all. Yeah? And think about it, could be the people in the harbor, but it could also be the people in the supermarket who needs to know when is the fruit coming in, etc. So there are many in there. And they created the blockchain to manage that part all in the blockchain so that all parties look at one thing. In the beginning we thought like, okay, how can we scale this? Huh? Because it did grow a lot. As you can see, many millions of changes, many transports of containers has been in this blockchain. But now with joining the other two, there is about 70%, close to 70% of the global shipping trade market is going to use this blockchain. And is it a model that you can earn money? You can also earn money with the blockchain because they pay per container. And that is also an idea of paying per container, because if you have a blockchain somewhere, then also it needs to be kind of business model that it is sustainable and that you can improve it for the future. This is a great example of a blockchain in the industry, where many of those partners came together, and as you can see, there's also the other two joining. I just did like to share this example with you because of the following, is that I believe there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. It is, for me, is a step change of doing things better. Definitely, it's one of the technologies you can use, but it is who is going to start, this, and is it, which process are you going to take end to end, and what is the network that you need? Who are the big players? And that is more or less the next step that we are going to do. So if I'm going into the boardrooms of many of those construction clients, they ask me, Wilko, what does it mean blockchain for our industry? So they are interested, but it is not yet coming into the next phase. But I believe that if I show you that slide with the 3 areas, that there will be definitely a business case coming up soon. And I promised my colleagues who did the mining one and who did the responsible sourcing, that at least for IBM point of view, we will try to get one blockchain in the ECNO business running for this year. So happy to work with you or with your clients to do this, but it is our goal to start one of the blockchains also in ECNO industry. Thank you. Time for questions or any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned mining and their operations. Any reference at all to the oil industry, to hydrocarbons, gas, oil at all, in your experience?
Yeah, the oil industry, there are some of them in the oil industry. One is that at least, for instance, big oil companies use the blockchain for transport purpose, so that you know what is where and when. So that's it's kind of copy part of what we just saw with the other is one that they use. Not yet for the hydrocarbon accounting part, but it would be a big use case because it's a very difficult and process, especially because it's related to temperature as well and trust in the blockchain. No, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on the payment solution for subcontractors on the electricity grid. Is that?
Yeah.
What's actually happening there? Is it actually a payment or is it an instruction to pay? So a requisition or a proof that work has been completed?
Up until the payment. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not actually cash that's playing in the request and the approval of that.
Yeah, if everything is tick, then you will get your payment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's a smaller ecosystem, but it solved their issue that the people get their money at the right time.
I think it's very interesting, very apt for minor works under framework contracts. It's around here somewhere. Probably have to chip in on that. But for example, in utilities companies, certainly in the UK, they have a lot of contractors that will go and do smaller pipes and road things,
Yeah.
go and do a quick repair.
Yeah.
Small work,
Small
very
work.
low value,
Yeah.
high turnover.
So you did ask about oil and gas. Oil and gas is very close to engineering construction operations. So if you look at upstream, then you have your major capital projects. One of the things that they are looking at into major capital projects in the US about the blockchain is about getting the labor in. And because there's so much labor needed also, and to have the whole process of getting the labor in and get them, if you have a stop on a plant, then you need to have so many people in 24 hours doing a lot of things. That's where a big oil company with an EPC company is working on a blockchain as we speak. But we cannot announce yet what it is, but it is about that labor process.
That's in the United States, is it?
Yeah. Okay, you're good?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.